Y'all, Heated Rivalry has consumed my life. I wake up and the first thing in my head, I go on TikTok and this is what my For You page looks like. I go on Instagram and the targeted ads won't rest until I buy Heated Rivalry merch. I left my cozy apartment to go to the boy aquarium and watch men beat the shit out of each other. I went to a hockey game. I haven't seen fandom like this since Tumblr's heyday. What the fuck is going on? In an attempt to think about literally anything other than the gay hockey boys, I made the questionable decision to circle back to Heartstopper. And comparing Heated Rivalry to Heartstopper is like comparing apples to hornier apples. Both stories began as print media and were adapted into television. Both are primarily a love story between two young men. Both Heated Rivalry and Heartstopper elicited huge reactions from audiences after premiering. But while Heartstopper set out to be perfect, squeaky clean queer media, Heated Rivalry actually delivered authentic queer representation by not shying away from sexuality and desire. To talk about the Heartstopper TV show, we must first discuss the Heartstopper webcomic. Author and illustrator Alice Oseman began releasing the webcomic Heartstopper in 2016. Nick and Charlie meet when they're sat next to each other in school, and the rest is boyish gay history. 2 novellas, a few graphic novels, and 3 published novels later, Oseman had created an extensive queer universe of characters who more or less revolved around these 2 boys, Nick and Charlie. The Game Changer series, written by Rachel Reed, isn't entirely different. This series boasts 6 novels and follows the stories of 5 different couples. All of them are men-loving men stories. All of them have something to do with hockey, and just like Oseman's work, all of the books tie into each other. But I'm very interested in comparing the Heartstopper TV show and the Heated Rivalry TV show, not their print counterparts. I have read all of Heartstopper and most of Oseman's published work, but reading the 6-book Game Changer series would take me months, and I want to get this video out in a timely manner. Plus, who am I? Shane Hollander? Reading is for fucking nerds. Now, obviously, Heartstopper and Heated Rivalry are made for different audiences. Heartstopper is rated TV-14 on Netflix, and the gay hockey show is rated TV-MA, which is actually pretty tame. It just means it's like cool and chill for 17-year-olds to watch it. But while Heated Rivalry has been applauded for being so overtly sexual, Heartstopper met similar praise for being so virginal. Actually, because Heartstopper is so chaste, it's gained a reputation of being above criticism. The Heartstopper boys are good queer representation, and because of that, we aren't allowed to critique them. But just because the characters in Heartstopper are infantilized doesn't mean we also have to infantilize our critique of them. You think Shane Hollander is a bottom? Let me introduce you to Charlie Spring. Outside looking in, the Heartstopper universe surrounds Charlie, and this is unfortunate because he's not the strongest protagonist. Everyone in Charlie's life spends 100% of their time fussing around to make sure he's okay. He rarely voices his truth, he never stands up for himself, and he's constantly being rescued by his boyfriend, Nick Nelson. Nick heroically saves Charlie from Ben in season 1. He bravely stops Charlie from being bullied in season 2, and he kindly holds his lover's hand when Charlie goes on a grippy sock vacation in season 3. Their love story is full of tired romance tropes. Charlie loves to wear his boyfriend's sweaters. When Nick and Charlie kiss, Charlie has to stand on his tippy toes. Nick is the British version of the quarterback on the football team, and Charlie's the nerdy little kid who's always been bullied. There is nothing queer about taking straight romance tropes and applying them to two characters of the same gender. Nick is this comically large teenage rugby lad, and Charlie is the small, skinny little thing he can wrap his arms around. It's the big, strong man and the helpless ingenue. The narrative of Heartstopper shows Charlie as a victim of what's happened to him, instead of seeing Charlie as a fully fledged individual who has even an ounce of agency. At a further disservice to Charlie, his love story with Nick isn't a particularly interesting one. Notably, these two never have any conflict. Charlie has conflict with his family and with his ED, but never with Nick. In Heated Rivalry, we don't just see Hollander and Rosenoff fall in love, we see them do everything. We watch them hate each other and hate themselves. We see them jealous. We watch them grieve. We see them when they're sad and when they're happy. We watch them learn to love and learn to forgive one another. Nick and Charlie don't do any of that. At any conflict, Charlie is helpless. Nick looks at him like this, and then they hug about it. That's it. Their love feels artificial because it doesn't have a shroud of depth. Nick and Charlie just love each other, and that's enough. They don't fight, they don't disagree, they don't challenge one another, they don't do anything except say,
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Hi.
Hi. Hi. Why are we like this?
Why are we like this?
Taking a tired hetero romance trope and trying to queer it by changing the gender of the ingenue isn't radical or interesting queer storytelling. But telling a love story that's almost entirely driven by pleasure kind of is. And maybe an argument could be levied against Heated Rivalry that those boys don't do anything but I just don't think that's true. The show is generously peppered with steamy scenes because Heated Rivalry is a romance, and sex scenes in romance are very par for the course. The sex scenes offer a sweet relief both for the characters and the audience that's watching them. They create the rhythm of the show and they advance the plot forward. It's like a musical. Stay with me. A good musical has songs that advance the plot forward, like No Good Deed from Wicked. It's a great spectacle-filled song and it advances the plot forward. Unlike songs like Girl in the Bubble from Wicked, which is not a very good song, nor does it progress the plot forward. The best example of this is in episode 4, when Hollander has a gay little panic attack after his lover calls him by his first name. This sex scene, and then lack thereof, progresses the plot forward immensely. It's gratuitous to the audience and it's expositional. It's beautiful. But once we get to the sex scenes in Heartstopper, it's virginal. It's asexual. It's so innocent it feels juvenile. Alice Oseman, creator of the Heartstopper comics and TV show, has historically been very open about being aromantic and asexual.
I don't really know what that is. That's all right. You can Google it later.
You can Google it later. Understanding what asexuality and aromanticism are should easily be more understood in queer spaces. Our ace and aro ancestors also historically helped to fight for the rights of the rest of us perverts. Representation is important. But Heartstopper exists in an entirely asexual world, and I think the story is severely hindered by this. Teenage boys aren't known for their chastity or restraint. And to prove how horny young gay men are for each other, here's how long it takes between Ilya Rosenoff walking through the front door of a hotel to Shane Hollander putting his dick in his mouth. They're kissing. Slut. Whore. That's queer male desire. from hello to in mouth in less than 2 minutes. But the boys in Heartstopper don't seem to discover sexual desire until season 3 of the show, when they're 16 and 17 years old. I need something stronger than this. That's better. Netflix won streaming rights for season 1 of Heartstopper, and after the show was a huge hit, they did something very uncharacteristic and ordered 2 more seasons. Season 2 stays pretty loyal to the comics, but by season 3, the source material is less specific, and that's when Osman kind of runs off the rails. The criticism to make Heartstopper hornier was getting much louder, and to appease the masses, Osman writes sex plots into season 3 of Heartstopper. All 3 of the gay little couples decide they want to have gay little sex at the same time. And the supposed desire these teenagers feel for each other leaves a lot to be desired. Most teenagers are like mad horny. That's kind of their whole thing. And while I think asexual characters and plot lines are worthy of more care and attention, if Heartstopper was supposed to exist in an asexual world, let it exist asexually. In 2020, I forgot I put whiskey in there. In early 2020, Alice Oseman published the novel Loveless, which primarily follows Georgia, who through the book comes to accept that she is aromantic and asexual. I read this book right when it was published, which was a period of time when a lot of people were coming out, myself included. I picked up this book to help me in my coming out journey, and I resonated with it a lot more than I thought I would. I understood the protagonist's lack of desire. I understood her need to perform intimacy to allosexual people. But I didn't relate because I'm ace. I related because I'm a raging lesbian who spent most of her life feigning attraction towards men. It's the quintessential queer experience to feel the need to conform. Adrienne Rich calls this performative heterosexuality, and I feel confident saying it's something felt by every single representative of the LGBTQIAPP+. I think I got all of them. I think Loveless is Osman's strongest work, and it's what ignited me to read the rest of their writing. By telling an asexual story from an asexual person's perspective, the feelings in the novel are so specific that they actually become very relatable. Conversely, Heartstopper tries to tell queer stories from every possible perspective. And in trying to represent everyone, it doesn't really represent anyone accurately. Writing a gay sex plot where 2 teenage boys seem fully satisfied by occasionally giving each other handies is insane.
Do you think it counts as sex? It's just touching.
Do you think it counts as real sex? Trying to satiate fans with awkward makeout scenes and sex hidden underneath blankets just encourages the idea that sex is something we aren't allowed to talk about, especially not queer sex, and especially not sex between teenagers. I understand that Heartstopper is media for children, but to look at this TV show and see it as anything other than for kids aged 12 and under is laughable. Children and teenage audiences are smarter than this. Sex isn't a myth to most children, and keeping sexual acts and desires hidden under blankets does nothing but encourage the idea that sex is a sacred spectacle that we're not allowed to publicly talk about. And because we're not allowed to talk about queer sex, many early queer experiences are not entirely consensual. And this is actually something that both Heartstopper and Heated Rivalry communicate fairly well. In season 1 of Heartstopper, Charlie has a secret boyfriend called Ben. When Charlie ends things with Ben, Ben gets very upset and he does some sexual assault towards Charlie as a little treat. And in Heated Rivalry, it's more subtle, but the scene between Sasha and Ilya is very non-con. Ilya says no in every possible way he can, and Sasha continues to push. The blocking in this scene is fucking beautiful. From the little we know about Sasha and Ilya in the show, they hooked up when they were young and they hooked up in secret. And if I had to guess, Sasha wasn't great with boundaries. Actually, if the Game Changers girlies can sound off in the comments, I would love to know if this is explored in the books. As a woman who unfortunately used to hook up with men, I do feel very seen by fictional stories that mirror most men's lack of boundaries. But my early queer experiences were also fairly coercive. One of the major downsides of not discussing sex is that it's also never discussed how to safely have queer sex. In queer sex, there aren't really any rules, especially when you're new to it. Like, am I a top? Am I a bottom? I am just happy to be here. But as is true for me, as is true for Charlie, and as appears to be true for Ilya, my first queer sexual encounters were overwhelmingly negative and non-consensual. Honestly, one of the most beautiful parts of Heated Rivalry is watching Shane Hollander have such consensual early queer experiences. Rosenoff is such a communicative lover and constantly checking in to make sure Shane is okay. Consent is like super hot, actually. I mean, Ilya Rosenoff is like super hot, actually. Like, why do I want that man to top me? Oh my god, am I bi-curious? This is not enough. This is not enough. Another fun parallel between Heartstopper and Heated Rivalry is that they're both love stories between a gay man and a bi man. And let me be the 1,000,000th person to say we deserve better bi representation, and we deserve better bi representation of men specifically. It's basically just whiskey now. Round of applause to the pretty white boys for giving us bi male representation. But, I'm a little drunk. But, I think Heated Rivalry shows complex queer attraction better than Heartstopper ever attempted to. When Nick comes out, he specifically comes out as bi and then never shows attraction towards anyone else. Not towards any other men, except a schoolboy crush on Jonathan Bailey. Also, what the fuck? Jonathan Bailey, what are you doing in Heartstopper? How did you get here? When did he have time to film this? But Nick also never shows any attraction towards women. Nick's coming out scene is actually very beautiful. We should all be so lucky as to come out to an incredibly sweet and supportive Olivia Colman. But Nick's actual bisexuality is never explored in a meaningful way. In season 1, he's really confused that he's attracted to Charlie, and then everything is fine. He loves his boyfriend, and queer men are known for their monogamy, so we only know Nick is bisexual because he reminds us constantly.
I'm bisexual, actually.
In Heartstopper, the characters Imogen and Sahar also explore their bisexuality in seasons 2 and 3, but we only see them being attracted to one another, so we only know they're bisexual because they remind us constantly.
I'm bisexual.
I'm actually bisexual. But Ilya Rosenoff? He didn't have to say anything. I know that man is bisexual. He loves a titty grab. But of course, he still has to explain it to the straights who think that bisexuality was a myth invented by Katy Perry in 2008.
I like girls, but I also like you. Lucky me.
But his bisexuality is still very obvious before this point because the show shows his attraction to women very well. Bro, you know Rosenoff has it down bad if he's rejecting the most beautiful woman in the world for sweet baby Shane Hollander.
I like him. I like that autistic man.
It's obvious Rosenoff is bisexual, and I really like how that forces Hollander to reckon with his own queerness. Like, homeboy discovers queening out for the first time and thinks he's attracted to women. Yes, Jennifer Lawrence, Rose Landry, is very pretty, but baby boy, you're gay. And as a monosexual person, I really understand Shane exploring intimacy with the opposite gender and being both terrified and disappointed by it. I also really love that Heated Rivalry doesn't shy away from Shane's jealousy about his partner's bisexuality. In this scene, Shane isn't only jealous because his lover might marry Svetlana, which would be incorrect. Svetlana should marry me. He's jealous because his lover could marry someone else that would make his life much easier. I understand why my bisexual partner might prefer to choose a hetero-passing relationship. But that's the thing about bisexuality, babes. It's not a choice. You fall in love with whoever you fall in love with. And Rosanoff doesn't want to marry some girlish Yankee to get his American citizenship. His heart wants this boring Canadian, and that's who he chooses. So, plus 10 points to Heated Rivalry for having complex and interesting bi representation. But Heartstopper is still better queer representation because Heartstopper represents everyone in the queer community, right?
Hey, excuse me, what are you listening to?
I'm listening to Shane Hollander ask Ilya Rosanoff to the cottage. Heated Rivalry is a show about gay boys.
I'm bisexual, actually.
But Heartstopper has it all. The gay boy, the bi girl, the lesbian, the they, them, the trans youth, the token straight, the token asexual. Every member of the alphabet mafia can find their representative in this show. Yes, representation matters. But what if the representation is bad? Heartstopper's most visible lesbians are Tara and Darcy, who go to the all-girls school, which is a lesbian fever dream. You mean there's no men here? Sign me up. But instead of sneaking around the all-girls school to scissor in the bathroom, Tara and Darcy can be spotted leaving enough room for Jesus while they chastely dance together. They're both out and proud lesbians, and that's about the full depth of each of their personalities. The couple almost has conflict in season 2, and then everything is immediately resolved and they get along just fine again. To begin to understand how misunderstood sapphic desire is in the universe of Heartstopper, I offer you a scene from season 1, episode 2. Elle is following around Tara and Darcy, and in the background, the song Girls by Girl in Red plays. This is me singing it. They're so pretty, it hurts. I'm not talking about boys, I'm talking about girls. They're so pretty in their button-up shirts. This song is written about a woman who is yearning for another woman, and it's juxtaposed over a scene of Elle looking to make friends. Yes, Tara and Darcy are lesbians, and yes, Girl in Red is a lesbian. But because this scene takes place from Elle's perspective, playing this song over her point of view makes it look like Elle wants to menage a trois with the neighborhood dykes. I would rather lesbians not be involved in the plot than lesbians shoehorned into my media as half-baked, monotonous, sapphic representation. I feel better represented by these boys than these lesbians ever could. Because Rosanoff and Hollander actually show desire toward one another. The gay boy hockey show
I'm bi, he's gay.
wasn't written with me in mind. I'll be the first to say it's shocking that a show with this much sucking has captured the attention of lesbians across the globe. But it has.
Lesbians care about heated rivalry.
That's all I can think about.
Me and all my local lesbians are frothing at the mouth for this show. Why? It's the desire these two characters feel for each other. It's the way they kiss, and it's the way that they fuck. When they're together, nothing matters more than fulfilling their physical desires. No, Shane Hollander, I don't resonate with your desire to get on your knees and suck your boyfriends, but I do resonate with the uncontrollable passion of being reunited with your long-distance, same-gender lover. The sapphic stereotype is complete and uncontrollable obsession. It's love bombing. It's saying I love you on the second date. It's U-hauling. It's actually Scott and Kip. I do know what it's like for me to spend the night on the first date, and then you ask me to be your housewife the next day, and I abandon my friends and family to live in a happy bubble with you. That is proper lesbian love bombing behavior. Way to go, Scott and Kip, allies to the lesbian community. Yet, fictional lesbian love stories seem to think that two girls holding hands and staring into each other's eyes is the apex of female pleasure. It isn't. Yes, lesbians do like to hold hands and smile into each other's faces, but we're also knee-deep in the passenger seat. Heated Rivalry conveys that desire and yearning very well. The emotion is so specific that it becomes universal. I know what this feels like, and it's that feeling that I crave. Heartstopper is but one piece of media in a long list of media that tells a mediocre lesbian love story. Because the lesbians are my community, the inauthentic lesbian representation is the most jarring and obvious to me as a viewer. But in looking at any of the relationships in Heartstopper, I'm not convinced that any queer group is well represented. The Heartstopper TV show attempts a triptych about these three couples, and I can't be bothered to root for any of them because they're all stock characters. Gay stock characters, yes, but predictable and unrelatable nonetheless. Elle is trans, but she's also an artist. Tao is a straight guy who likes movies. Tara is the girl lesbian who isn't seen participating in a hobby until season 3. And Darcy is the boy lesbian who eventually comes out as non-binary. Charlie is gay and shy. Nick's a jock, and his defining personality trait is telling people
He's bi, actually.
which, actually, that's great representation. Bi people love to remind people that they're bi, plus 10 points to Heartstopper. But despite the cast of characters being openly queer, both in their gender and their sexuality, nobody seems to struggle with their identity. Darcy comes out as non-binary in season 3, and if you blink, you'll miss their entire coming out. Meanwhile, Ilya Rozanov has sent me into a full gender panic. I told my hairstylist to give me the Rozanov, and she did an incredible job. Thank you, Kat. And I'm not the only lesbian to do this. Coach Jackie on TikTok took Connor Story's look from the Golden Globes to her hairstylist and got that haircut. I'm only mad that I got my haircut before the Golden Globe look came out. Like, damn, do I want to be Ilya Rozanov, or do I want him to be in me? I'm so confused. And gender is like famously a very confusing thing for most queer people. But despite Heartstopper having multiple characters played by real-life trans and non-binary actors, any exploration or confusion about gender is non-existent. Heartstopper tries to present every member of the queer community in a perfect and unproblematic light. And because of this, they all fall flat. They're all represented inauthentically. But still, none of that matters. I mean, Heartstopper is still better representation than Heated Rivalry because basically all of the actors are openly queer. Right?
I'm not sure you're supposed to smoke here.
There's been a lot of hullabaloo on the internet about whether or not Hudson Williams and Connor Story are gay. Everyone is asking, everyone is speculating, and yet the boys remain silent. But I fucking love it, actually. When Heartstopper premiered, Joe Locke was openly gay, but Kit Connor wasn't openly anything. After season 1's rapid success, many fans were curious to know if bisexual Nick Nelson was actually gay in real life, which would make Kit Connor a good actor, or if he was actually straight, which would make him a bad actor. The internet won, and Kit Connor came out in this now infamous tweet. Bullying a teenager into outing themselves is a really shit way for them to publicly come out. If they ever choose to come out at all. Francois Arnaud has publicly called out fans for bullying Hudson Williams and Connor Story the same way they bullied Kit Connor. Forcing the kid to come out was pretty rude, but now that he's out, at least we can sleep peacefully at night, knowing that Heartstopper is good representation actually, because all of the actors are authentically queer. Except, we know how I feel about blindly believing that representation matters. And TV shows are worlds of make-believe that we, as the audience, are supposed to buy into. It's pretend. It's storytelling. It's acting. And let me say, these boys can act. Their performances are believable and intense. Their chemistry is off the charts. Their characters feel like full and real individuals because they were written well and directed well, but also because two very talented actors were cast to play these roles. When casting for Heartstopper, Ousmane seemed so intent on casting people who looked incredibly similar to their cartoon counterparts. And they did a great job of this. Everyone on the show looks like everyone in the comics. But the major downside to that is that most of these actors don't give the most dynamic performances. When they're kissing or laughing or hugging or whatever, they don't have the sparkle of magic that feels like love. It takes Nick until season 2 to kiss his boyfriend on the neck. And here, it looks like Charlie is having his blood drained by a very sexy vampire. Meanwhile, this is how Hollander and Rosenoff look at each other when they're not even touching. I don't want to rag on young actors' performances for much longer, but it's an actor's job to sell you a story. And these two sell it very well. And the incessant need for these young actors to come out is embedded with an air of homophobia.
That's homophobic, Harry.
You have to be gay in order to kiss boys. You can't be straight and kissing a boy. That's gay. Can't we just let two boys kiss and not be that weird about it? When actors portray straight sex scenes, they aren't asked to publicly prove or pronounce their desire towards their scene partner. Sex scenes are scenes being filmed by actors whose job it is to tell a story. Well-intentioned internet bullies argue that Story and Williams can't convincingly show love and desire between men unless they've truly felt those things in their real life. But Connor and Locke are both queer men, and I don't think they sell it very well. I don't buy into the desire or the love between Nick and Charlie, but the desire between Hollander and Rosenoff is the only thing I'm able to think about these days. Only thing she said. And I think Heated Rivalry feels so authentically queer because its showrunner is an openly gay man. There's no whiskey in this one. Yet. Jacob Tierney wrote and directed Heated Rivalry, and it's so obvious that this show has a gay showrunner. And yes, I'm looking at you, the Montreal Bottoms and the Boston Tops. Heated Rivalry is very gratuitous with its audience, and Heartstopper is so afraid that its audience will sexualize Nick or Charlie in any way. Rosenoff is always wearing a slutty little outfit if he's wearing anything at all, but on the off chance Nick Nelson is shirtless, he's still always halfway covered up. Someone needs to teach Nick how gay men take selfies. It ain't this. So, queer characters being played by queer actors is actually no indicator of how good the media is. I think Heated Rivalry tells a convincing love story because its showrunner is openly queer and because it casts two very talented actors to play the main roles. Maybe in a few years, Williams and Story will come out as gay or bi or whatever, and maybe they won't. Either way, they don't owe it to you to come out. The general public isn't owed anything from them. And the public spectacle surrounding Hudson Williams and Connor's story is getting ridiculous. The internet is outing people's private partners. The internet is mad that Connor's story and Francois Arnaud are hanging out. The internet thinks that they're secretly dating. The parasocial relationship we've all formed with them should be studied. I also find it particularly interesting and fairly misogynistic that everyone loves how affectionate these two boys are in public, and they hated how affectionate Cynthia Erivo and Ariana Grande were in public. All of these actors don't owe anyone access into their personal life. Nobody owes it to you to come out. In a similar vein, leave Rachel Reed alone. There's a lot of online spectacle about whether or not she's a queer woman, and just like Williams and Story, she refuses to publicly come out. Coming out isn't always a safe option for everyone. Leave them be. The formula for queer storytelling often involves an individual coming out as gay, and neither of these pieces of media can be properly discussed without exploring the politics of coming out. It's not always safe to be openly queer, and supporting queer people is also supporting their right to choose whether or not they publicly come out. Heated Rivalry is set in the universe of hockey for a reason. It's an incredibly masculine, conservative, and traditional space. It's not safe for someone to come out, and when they do, it overshadows the rest of their identity. Scott Hunter isn't Scott Hunter, NHL Stanley Cup champion. He's Scott Hunter. The NHL was founded in 1917. That was 107 years ago. In the last 107 years, not a single player on the NHL has been openly queer. Not a single player in 107 years. Telling a queer love story within the confines of the NHL is a very helpful shorthand for the audience. We understand it's not safe for them to be openly queer, so we know they're not going to come out. And besides, I come out at least once a week. All queer people do. Someone will say something to me about a boyfriend or a husband, and I have to tell them that this is what a lesbian in real life looks like. Sure, there was a big tearful scene when I came out to my family, but the day I really came out was the day I came out to myself. While outside looking in, this scene in Heated Rivalry is the big coming out for Shane and Ilya. It's actually this scene that hits hardest with me. Shane comes out as gay to Ilya, and Ilya's response is basically, yeah, no shit, you seemed pretty gay when you were sucking my... But I much prefer his coming out scene to Ilya because it's this moment that we see Shane accept his own queerness. And that's the biggest hurdle that most of us struggle to jump over. In the business, we call this internalized homophobia. Episodes 1 through 4 of Heated Rivalry are about Shane Hollander being ashamed and terrified of his own queerness.
I'm not gay, but if I was, I would want equal rights.
In moments of intimacy, he sees what queer love could really look like. Then he runs away from it because that's an easier reality to accept than accepting your own queerness. I know how Shane Hollander feels, and him being uncomfortable with his own queerness, I think, makes a lot of us feel very seen. The day you come out isn't the day that you tell your mom you're gay. It's the day you let the soft part of your body love what it loves and accept who you actually are. The quintessential moment of coming out of the closet feels like an expectation set by the straights. Because it is. Because It's the moment when they get mental clarity about someone else's lived experience. So I'm not super interested in queer media that's a coming out story. The coming out scene in a piece of gay media is so formulaic and expected. It's so easy to replicate that even Heartstopper does it well. So, me and many of the gays are wondering why Heated Rivalry has been such a success when it's really a closeted coming out narrative. But oh boy, oh baby, this wasn't written for us. It was written for straight women. And remember, straight people love it when the gays come out. They think it's our big moment.
Okay, so you're gay, so what?
Let's look at the show English Teacher, which ran for 2 seasons. Similar to Heated Rivalry, the show has a gay male showrunner, and the vibe feels so distinctively queer.
Dude, hoppers! These things are gonna be the next big thing.
The narrative follows Evan, he's the English teacher, and in this scene, one of Evan's students comes out to him as gay, and he laughs in his student's face. And that is the funniest shit to me. A straight person would never write that. But despite English Teacher being a well-made, very funny piece of queer media, it didn't capture a large enough audience because it didn't appeal to straight people very well. Outside of Evan and his boyfriend, most of the characters in this show are cis, straight people. And after watching 2 seasons, I couldn't tell you what any of these characters' names are. The show is peppered with straight people to appeal to a straight audience, but an English Teacher, it just didn't work. What I'm about to say may sound tragic. Only like 10% of all people are openly queer. That is a very generous estimate. There aren't that many gay people. We aren't a big enough demographic to appeal to. Media conglomerates want eyeballs on TV screens, so even media that's explicitly made for queer people must also be made for straight people. So a show about queer male desire is actually a show about women's desire towards men. HBO's current demographics show that the Heated Rivalry audience is 50 to 75% women. This shouldn't come as a surprise because the Game Changers book series also amassed an audience almost entirely comprised of women. I think the sapphic audience of Heated Rivalry really sees themselves portrayed in this exploration of queer love. But the straight women? Oh, they wanna fuck these boys.
I love gay porn. I think it is really hot to watch 2 dudes touch each other because I love men, and the only thing better than 1 man is 2 men.
A quick jaunt through the Heated Rivalry subreddit shows me that a lot of the audience of this show is just really attracted to these 2 very beautiful men. Straight women around the globe are talking about like tops and bottoms, and while I think they should be put into timeout for this, it is their right. The show was made for them. But, like, I would wager, stay with me girlies, that a lot of the audience of straight women who really like Heated Rivalry are actually bisexual women. The bisexuals in my life are chomping at the bit because they want to fuck the hockey boys, but also queer attraction to them is fucking hot. The popular harmful assumption about bisexuals is that all bisexual women are actually straight and all bisexual men are actually gay. This is because we are taught to think men are the default. Our solar system actually doesn't revolve around a sun. It revolves around a man because they are perfect and infallible and can do no wrong. A woman feeling attracted to a man is a really safe way for a woman to explore queerness. I'm not gay for watching these boys kiss, but like, it's kind of hot that they're gay, and sex between 2 people with the same parts sounds like exciting and interesting. And I'm not arguing that all straight women are closeted bisexuals, but queerness is a spectrum, babe. And I have a feeling a lot of you are fruitier than you think. My DMs are open. Back in pastel-colored cartoon land, everyone is queer. Heartstopper is so gay. It's such a gay show. Everyone is gay, but still, it really panders to its straight audience. Terms like bisexual are overtly explained and regurgitated to the audience like they're lessons in a classroom. The only tension ever present in Nick and Charlie's relationship is around Nick's anxiety and coming out. Then he comes out, like, so many times. So while the moment when Shane comes out to his parents is very touching, I'm a little tired of it. I've seen this before in every single gay story, actually. Let's do something different. So while Jacob Tierney did an incredible job of adapting this queer story, its biggest limitation is written into the core plot because of its initial intended audience. And it makes me very anxious for the future of the series. Heated Rivalry, the TV show, has used up a lot of its source material from the Game Changers series. Heartstopper, the TV show, is by far and away at its worst when the show ran out of source material to adapt from. Season 3 of Heartstopper is so weak that Netflix didn't even bother to let Trixie and Katya publicly roast it. We all watched Game of Thrones, and when those idiots ran out of source material to adapt from, the show got so bad. Heated Rivalry has been renewed for 2 more seasons, and Heartstopper is getting a send-off in the form of a movie which should come out sometime this year. If I were Jacob Tierney, I would work on adapting the rest of the Game Changers books into a series. But I doubt this is what will happen. Everyone is frothing at the mouth for these 2 boys specifically, and if we're going to continue telling their story, the next logical place for it to go is a big coming out narrative. And I'm just not that interested in watching that again. Of course, my anxiety might be misplaced. Fleabag Season 1 was adapted from the stage play of the same name, but everything in Season 2 of Fleabag is entirely new material, and it's very, very good. Rachel Reed recently announced she's gonna write another book about Shane and Ilya, so maybe that will be good, and maybe it will be adapted into the show. Alice Oseman is slowly working on finishing the Heartstopper webcomic, and it seems like the plot of the Heartstopper movie will follow Nick and Charlie as they navigate long distance when Nick moves away to uni. What an enthralling end to a captivating few seasons. Na zdrowie. Na zdrowie. Na zdrowie. Oh my god, I can't do it. Na zdrowie. Heartstopper. Is it a romance? Is it a comedy? Is it a drama? It's none of those. It's an after-school special. Season 3 leans the heaviest into drama, especially in the plot surrounding Charlie's eating disorder. And Season 3 of this show isn't any fun. Even by the time they start having sex with each other, it's so boring. I'm so bored. Oh my god, Hollander, you're so bored. Shane Hollander affectionately calls his lover asshole, and Nick can't even call Charlie baby. Heartstopper goes out of its way to teach the audience how to be a good gay and how to be a good ally. It reminds us that the world we live in is scary, but everything will be okay because your gay boyfriend and your gay friends and your gay sister and your gay teachers will all help you out of it. But I'm tired of blindly applauding Heartstopper because it's so chaste. As is true with most grown and consenting adults, queer people have sex, feel desire, and crave passion. Vilifying queer people for being sexual is just another way to villainize queer people. Heated Rivalry audiences, gay and straight alike, love this show because it's so carnal. So much queer media is made for children, but adults deserve queer stories too. What's it like to come out in your 20s, 30s, 40s, and beyond? What queerness looks like alongside complex adult life? How intersectionality plays into a person's relationship with their queerness and their ability to come out. Heartstopper is cute and fun and gay, but it's for babies. And I'm not a baby. I'm a grown fucking woman who feels desire and craves complex emotional experiences. Heated Rivalry isn't an after-school special. I mean, yeah, no shit, it's literally gay, but it's also so much more. It's very well-made television, and it tells an earnest queer story that doesn't have an obvious agenda. I don't think Heated Rivalry was made with the intent to be good queer media. I think Heated Rivalry was made with the intent to tell a very good love story, and they delivered on that promise. If I can be vulnerable for one final time, I have been out and single for about 5 years, and when you've been single for this long, you spend a lot of time thinking about the love that you want to have. I want a love that's passionate, one that challenges me, one that comforts me. I want a love that supports my independence and helps me as I grow. I want a love that watches me grieve and cares for me when I'm ill. I want a love that's complex and beautiful and all-encompassing. And Heated Rivalry gave me all of that. Heartstopper is sweet, childlike wish fulfillment. It tells an idealistic love story between two young men, and Heated Rivalry is smut. But at the end of the day, what is smut if not a love story? Thank you so much for watching this video. If you liked it, smack that like button like it's Connor Story's ass. Or if you really liked it, share it with a friend. The algorithm's not going to push a video about gay, so the only way that this will get eyeballs is if you help me get eyeballs on it. Special thanks to all of these wonderful people. Trying to figure out what I wanted to say and how I wanted to frame my arguments was challenging, and I could not have done it without the input and help of these brilliant, wonderful people. I am one of many people who's working on a spec script for a sapphic Heated Rivalry. Mine is, of course, about ballerinas. If you have a lot of money or want to make art with me, reach out. I can't stress enough that my DMs are open. One last time. Whose body type is this flattering on? Why does it have this weird little tail in the back? Is that for strapping?